y'all. It's Terry. I'm here with my friend Angela. There she is. And we're going to paint today. She brought us a photograph of a painting of a Tabasco bottle. We're going to use that as inspiration. And we're going to talk about copying art and things like that as well. But if you'll join me, I'll show you my method of doing this on canvas. I'm going to flip you up and over and just to see my canvas now, and then you'll be able to eavesdrop on our conversations. Let me see. What am I doing wrong? Oh, I got it turned wrong. Alright. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Here we go. Now I'll turn it around again. Hopefully you're not getting dizzy. Okay. There's my canvas. If you have comments, I'll have to come back to them later, likely, because I won't likely be able to see them. But hope you'll join us at our little painting party. There's a little bit of a shadow here. I didn't want to get my light too much in the way. Maybe that helps a little. And I just got out some colors. And if you're looking at this, this has a blue background, and Angela just talked about it. We're gonna do the background with a palette knife, but what I think is going to be the easiest thing for us to do is to draw out the size of that Tabasco bottle. See how this one's squatty? Ours is going to be tall. We're using a 16 by 20 canvas and probably going to have our bottle be tall, but we're going to hopefully be able to crack open this paint pretty easily. Yay. And we're going to draw our Tabasco bottle first with this black paint. So let's scoop this out a little black. It's not going to take too much. And you could do this with a Sharpie if you wanted to, or you could do it with brown paint or something like that. But because we're, you can draw yours with a Sharpie.
That's okay.
Absolutely okay. Anything, you're the artist.
I'd be more
Anything you want to do is okay. So think about what your placement and how big you want it to be. And this paint, remember, is pretty dang thick. This is heavy body. So and I don't have my squirt bottle over here. I'm gonna just find me an angled brush. I'm gonna use this here. This is a 1/2 inch angle, and I'm gonna get it pretty wet and try to wet me up some black and just go at it. So I'm thinking I want my bottle to take up most of the page and be about that wide. So that's how my process would be, to mark at the top how big you want it to be, and the bottom is probably twice as big as the top. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to want it pretty close to the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and mark my bottom line. Can you see that? And the way a Tabasco bottle sort of does is it has a long neck. Pretty long neck. And then it's sort of, I need some more water because my paint's so thick. And then we'll sort of come out and around and down. Out and around and down. That looks more like a Louisiana bottle than a Tabasco. Maybe that Cholula. It absolutely is okay, because we're not wanting this to be perfect. If we were wanting this to be perfect, we would have measured and drawn and traced and all that kind of stuff. But when you're going for, you know, kind of whimsical and abstract, these Tabasco bottles, if you look at that, it looks like it comes down so far and then it has a black label. Oh, yours looks more like a Tabasco bottle. That's awesome.
Messed up on this side.
Well, just go around it because we're going to paint over it anyhow.
Okay.
Just she wasn't as happy with part of how one of her sides worked, so it wasn't symmetrical. I don't like mine to be symmetrical, so I'm going to pretend I did that on purpose. Looks like a bottle of Italian dressing. But I'm okay with that. And then while I have this black on my brush, I'm going to go ahead and just fill in this part of what would be the label up here, because it looks like that's what's in that picture over there. Candy. Two things. There's a bunch of new brushes in there from Paint Pixie, and I've been hanging them like with string or rope, thank you, from that thing in there. Oh, she started. That looks good. I don't know whether it's gonna overwhelm the thing I've got it hanging on, and we should hang some on the other side on that board or something, but I feel like all those brushes need to be hanging. Will you look at that? And I have all those envelopes on my desk. Will you look about a deposit, but I have 2 checks in there that need cashing out of the first if we can. Okay, I thinned out my paint quite a bit there so you can see through that, so I'm going to go over it and get a little bit of an extra coat. That looks good. Now you look like you did a 3D image of it. So now just grab you a brush that the size of, this is like a flat 1/2 inch, possibly something like that, where you feel like you would have enough control with it. Because if you get them and wet it and then kind of dab around in your paint with your wet to spread it out and get it a little bit thinner, because this is thick. But if you you feel like you're making these lines that you're going to want a small brush, but if you get your brush too small, then you're just having to reload it with paint and reload it with paint. But you can see it with this one, with the one you have, the straight one, you can just come straight down and follow the line that you want to be followed. Oh yeah, that's awesome. And since I didn't go, hey from South Carolina, hey Tammy, hey Mary Catherine. I'm thinking that down here, I stopped a little before the bottom. If you look at the picture of whoever did this one, they went all the way to the bottom, but I didn't go all the way to the bottom. So when you don't go all the way to the bottom, it doesn't need to be like floating in midair. It's going to need to have a little bit of a table that it's sitting on, and it can be a round table or it can be a straight across table. But you also don't want your table flat, even, your surface flat, even with the bottom of your bottle, because then it optically looks like your bottle's going to fall off the edge of the table. So I am going to go with this. What am I going to go with? We're going to have a lot of red up there already. Let's go with this yellow. I didn't want to have to rinse my brush, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with this Cad Yellow Deep Hue, which is sort of a deeper yellow, and I'm going to put me a table down there with it. But Angela and I also discussed that we're going to do the background with a palette knife. I'm just going to go ahead and do my table part with my brush, and then we'll do that rest of it with the palette knife. But I'm just squirting some paint right on here because I like to do it that way. That looks good. Angela's is going to be like all good lines. Yes. Yeah, but either if you really feel like they're too thick later, you can cover part of them with your blue or with your red, or you can leave them thick. That's the good thing about this. And we have the blow dryer. You can dry it. But when you have the thick paint like this, I could cover this up with the yellow right now if I wanted to. So let's see about how high are we going to want this to go. I want my table to be kind of round, so I'm going to go up about that high. And it's not symmetrical either, but I'm okay with it. Now that label up at the top, if you want to go ahead and fill it in black. Get me a little bit of a bigger brush from a table down there because I'm impatient with that little one. Thank you, Mary Catherine, for the share. Every time you share the love for a little business like this, it helps Facebook to know that it's something that people may be interested in, and they let more people see it, and that really helps. You know, you feel like when you have a couple of thousand people that are followers of your page, that this notifications go out to a couple of thousand people, but that's really not the way it works. They send it out to about 1% of the people who like your page, and if any of them share it, comment on it, and things like that, then they'll let another couple of % of people see it. And every time that, you know, you give hearts and shares and things like that, that tells Facebook, oh, this might be interested to other people who like, or interesting to other people who like this page, so they'll send it out a little bit more. And those are the things that help the small businesses grow. So I appreciate y'all so much for that. You know, I'm always in a hurry down here. I'm on my table. And I'm just dipping my brush now and then, and you see that where the blob, I just put the paint directly on there, and then I'm just wetting my brush to go back over that and leave it kind of chunky. And this is what I was telling Angela. See here where my corner didn't do so good? Let me make sure that's dry. It's dry. I'm just gonna hide that. That's the good thing about paint. You just paint back over it and pretend it never happened. And don't forget your edges once you get to that part. If you decide to put a table, Angela may not want a table on hers. We were talking about, here's what we were talking about, and Angela really loves the blue dog, like the Rodriguez blue dog, and she had talked to another artist friend about doing the blue dog with her, in, you know, in this kind of instance, playing along like we're doing, and they were feeling like that it was an inappropriate thing to do because that's somebody else's work. Well, the original, I would love that, Sandra, if you paint with me this summer. If you are copying the blue dog and you're putting his name on the bottom of it and pretending it's his, well, definitely that's illegal and unethical, and that would be stealing. But being inspired by his blue dog and painting a similar blue dog of your own, if you feel better about yourself, you can write on the back, this is not an original Rodriguez blue dog. That's always nice, but it, you know, every piece of art was inspired by another piece of art. Nobody came up with the first flowers. I may be looking at Amanda Hilburn's flowers, which I love the way that she does flowers whenever I do a flower, but that doesn't make mine hers. If I sit down and painstakingly try to make mine identical to hers, it probably still won't be. But if I tried that and then I put her initials on it, well, that would be stealing. But having her picture right there, looking at it and being inspired and hopefully making it my own, using the colors that I like and doing the things that I do, that's okay. That, you know, that's flattery to an artist. That's not stealing their idea or their intellectual property. If you see a picture of it and you crop their name off of it and you put your name on it, that's stealing. That absolutely is stealing. But mimicking it and using it as inspiration for your own original piece, everybody's going to know who that blue dog was inspired by, you know. But if they don't, tell them, you know what I mean? That's a very big form of flattery, and that's how the artwork world works. There's a million, Monet copies out there, but there's only a very few originals. But you get inspired by that work and you make versions of that work, and then eventually those ideas come into, did you want a table under yours or no? Yours went to the bottom. I don't think you have to. Okay. We talked about doing our background with a palette knife. So we have 3 kinds of blue here. We have a teal, because we can use this for inspiration. But we could do any color we want to for the background. We could put purple if we want to. We could put 3 colors if we want to. So if you want to go with blue, we have a dark blue, a medium blue, and a teal blue. Medium. That's cerulean blue. That's about the color we would have used for the blue dog. Let's see. Better get you another one so we don't mix up the colors. We use these French fry boats. And once again, I'm gonna, I'll use the darker one, and I'm just gonna squirt some right on my canvas because I don't know why, it makes me feel good.
I want to feel good too.
We'll squirt some right on your canvas. I know. Leave it like that. Turquoise. Oh, Mary Catherine, I wasn't looking when you said turquoise. I've already got that ultramarine, but I'm going to put some on there. How about that? I'll mix it up. Let's see. We're going to pretend our sun's coming from this side, so we'll mix our lighter color in on this side.
Do we have to have sun?
Huh?
Do we have to have sunshine coming in?
Well, I always like to think about every different picture that there's a light side and a shadow side. There ordinarily really doesn't have to be, but I always think of mine that way. And whenever I'm adding, and if you look at this, they have highlighting. They went back over their red with some white and things like that, so they're pretending the sun is coming from that way. So if you want to add another color, you can. If not, then you can grab any size of palette knife that you would like to use. Okay, and I'm going to use this great big one, and she chose that. Remember that kind of crooked one? That's my favorite one. That's the one Angela's going to use. And there is no rhyme or reason to this at this point. Once you just put the paint out on the surface, you can go this way, that way, and the other way with it. Sort of blend them in. Ooh, that's pretty. That was a good idea, Mary Catherine. And then, oh, I love it. It looks like a peacock thing. And then you can spread them. I'm just trying to get
Left to right?
left to right, or right to left, or up and down. I'm starting out just going left to right because I'm just wanting to get my paint spread out a good bit. But then I'm going to be going up and down some in a minute, trying to get up close to my bottle. I would like you to give me cash for those checks and then deposit them. I think they'll need to be endorsed. Sorry about that yelling, y'all. Mary Catherine, it is cool. I don't know why I like to do that way. You know, ordinarily you could just put it in here and be scooping it out. But, you know, my patience for scooping is not what it should be.
Did they hear the choo-choo?
I don't know. Can y'all hear the train? We're at my work studio, and there's a train outside, and it makes a lot of racket. And then my office is actually right there, and Candy's in there doing some work for me so that I can play with the paint.
That's right. Somebody's got to work.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it. And if you need more paint, just get more paint. Or if you feel like you can, let me grab our Mister bottle. If you want to use the Mister bottle, you can use the Mister bottle and sort of dampen your paint. And you can make X's, you can stay going right to left, you can go up and down some, right and left some. But when you have this much paint on here, you got a little bit of working time, I think. Or I know.
I hadn't thought about drying time.
Well, whenever, you know, acrylics dry pretty fast, so we may end up with a zigzag over there. I'm going to go ahead and spread out my one on the left-hand side a little bit. So it... But we can add more paint if we need to. We can also mist that a tad to, if you want to, just give it more spreading power. I'm sort of swirling over mine so that underlying swirl doesn't show as much. I do want it to show some.
Oh, you do?
Well, I mean, I do. Or not, I mean, it's another design.
Okay.
Another something if you want it. The thing with the palette knives that takes time, and I'm still got to remember it because I'm so heavy-handed, is if you're holding it like this, can y'all see that? And the lighter you go with it, the more it's going to deposit and look pretty. And the harder you put down with it, the less it's going to want to pull. So the easier you go with it, the better. And if you feel like you need to grab a smaller one or a different one over here, I've got a teeny tiny one if you're nervous about getting up close to your bottle.
I may never get any housework done again.
The thing is, you don't stress. If I get some of this, hey Laura, thank you. I love blue and yellow together. They're sort of across the color wheel from each other, so they do complement each other. We're gonna have some bright red here in a minute. This is gonna be a Tabasco bottle, so we should have Cajun music going. That would have been fun if we could have found some royalty-free Cajun music. But Tabasco is like a food you must worship in Louisiana. It's gotta be on every table. So we celebrate it. I don't know that we worship it, but we celebrate it.
Not too many countries in the world that don't serve it.
Yeah, now it's everywhere. I need to write a blog post on this. We recently, my daughters and my grandkids and I went to tour the factory for the first time in years and years. And oh my goodness, has it grown. The last time I had been down there, the old country store was just that, an old white needing painting wooden country store. And then they had an old dilapidated kind of a barn thing out there. That's where they literally stored the Tabasco pepper puree, mash they call it, for ever how many years they were fermenting it for storage. And then they had their bottling facility, and now it's like they're all brick buildings, and you line up and pay for a tour, and you watch through the windows and they can tell you what country those bottles and flavors are going to for the day. And they have like huge, no telling how, probably 100,000 gallons for all I know, vats instead of the wooden barrels that they, process and age the Tabasco mash in.
They don't do the wooden barrels anymore?
No, they don't do the wooden barrels anymore. Now they have these huge vats. It's unbelievable the amount of stuff that they're doing. And if it's hard to do the sides, you can always come back and do them with a brush. You know what I mean? If it feels awkward trying to get them with the palette knife. But it's fun, and they have Cajun music playing, and you get to see, sort of the farm is right there. They grow their own peppers, and you can buy all kinds of like limited edition pepper sauces that, aren't available in the stores. I got a raspberry one last time I was there, which was delicious. But it's McElhenney is the family. They still own it. And it's a fun experience. Avery Island, exactly. They have like a Buddha statue or something there that somebody from China gave them, that they keep it. They have like an aviary garden there or something. I've never been to that.
Gardens?
Huh?
Jungle Gardens?
Is that what it's called? Jungle Gardens? I've never been to the gardens or any of that, but I've, seen it in their brochures and all that stuff. Lots of gators. I have seen driving down to Tabasco before. We used to have to go down there and buy our supplies at our gift basket shop. And I have seen like alligators in the middle of the road and hit by cars. Like, you think of animals that happens from time to time, I guess, in the wilderness, or dogs or things like that. Well, down that area, it's alligators. Louisiana. Hey, Tanya. Okay, Mary Catherine, enjoy your day. Tanya, you really need to come down here and paint with us one day. it's beginning to become a little ritual. I've got friends coming down to paint. Tanya lives here in DeRidder as well. She and I used to work together at the newspaper. I don't even know if I had candy yet then. So like 35 years ago, I may have had candy.
For her.
Huh?
They all asked for you, you know.
Yeah. Yep, just come on. Sorry about that, y'all. I forgot to put it on do not disturb, and my husband just called. But he'll call back.
He was camera shy.
Yeah. I'm just doing, I still had a little bit of black on this brush, and I'm not worried about that at all. I'm just touching up these sides because it takes me too long to do them with the palette knife. I've got to have patience one day. I'm never going to be that person who can sit. That's why I don't oil paint. Because, you know, going and doing this much of a painting in one day and then coming back to it next week and doing another 4 inches and letting that dry for a week or however all that works. That's what it feels like to me, is a week before you can do some more. That is just not for me. And you don't have to worry when you're doing these sides too. They don't have to be, you know, perfectly as blue or anything. But like if I'm putting a table, I make my table go around the edge. If I'm putting anything, I have it go around the edge. And the reason for that is then you can hang this, and it doesn't have to be framed. So you're not having to frame everything you got if you don't want to.
Can't imagine framing everything.
Luckily, my husband
With my
builds frames.
skill
I've got, you know, he has no idea how much I paint. My studio at home is upstairs, so he doesn't ever see that. And I bring downstairs very little. But what is like hanging in our living room and stuff like that, the ones I painted, he made frames for. The grandkids painted some, and they're not in frames yet. But Jesslyn, my 4-year-old little granddaughter, recently painted a house and some trees, and she wanted him to build a frame for her, so it's in line waiting. Okay, I'm gonna just dampen this a little, and I'm gonna stay darker on the left. I'm not adding the turquoise on the left like I did the right. I'm just gonna sort of spread it out. And what I'm sort of looking for here, Angela, is to make sure I'm not seeing little white dots of canvas underneath so much that I'm getting paint into everything. Like, that's okay because it ran through there, but sometimes you'll think, like, see that there? I missed that. And that can be okay or not. Just depends. But I'm trying to make sure that anything that's left over, I intended on. I noticed it.
This is totally new experience for me.
But it's fun, isn't it? I mean, there is no way you can do this and be mad and stressed at the same time.
You can't say you did it wrong.
And you can't say you did it wrong. That's the most freeing thing that ever happened in my entire life was, by golly, I'm going to paint what I want to, how I want to, when I want to, and can't nobody tell me there's anything wrong with it because even I didn't know what it was supposed to be. I like having my visitors stop by. Usually everybody's camera shy the first time or two. Next thing you know, they'll be over there singing and dancing for us. Sharon did a whole show in here one time when I had to go work on the store side. By the time I got back, everybody knew her parents' love story, and it was so sweet. Yeah, you know, you do what you got to do. But yeah, she was nervous at first, and next thing you know, she was telling stories. Yeah, she was letting it all be told. I think her mama may have watched it later because she was painting that picture for her mom, and that made her feel special, you know.
That's what a surprise.
Now right here, can you see that? Right here, if I was a worrier, I would start to worry about what am I going to do because that's not blending or fading in from the side where I have the teal and the side where I just have the blue. Well, if you're worried about that, you're probably not my friend. Probably don't understand my method. The method is just have fun. Ain't nobody gonna notice that but you. Anybody else who notices it, that's their problem. They paying too much attention to wanting things perfect. That was, and I painted that way, y'all, for decades. Because my mama painted that way, and I thought that was the way. And I feel so sorry for her that she never got to experience what I get to experience whenever I'm painting something like this, because I'm not worried one bit about what anybody thinks about it, you know? I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing this for anybody to go stand at a gallery and stare at it and critique it, and you know, I mean, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. I'm just not into that. I used to put so much pressure on myself, and that was just not healthy. It was just not healthy.
I don't like those streaks.
Looks good, don't it? And that's another thing, that having these little bit of a heavier bodied paints, you know, gives you a little bit more working time than the thin paints. And that's, you know, a lot of people, you know, if you're still using craft paints, that's fine too. And you can palette knife with the craft paint. It's just going to dry faster. But that's why I use the Blick paints. I mean, just to me, I now and then would, you know, go, and if they had a sale or I had a 40% off coupon, I would buy myself a Liquitex or a Golden or something, you know, a tube at a time of my favorite colors or something like that, most used colors from Hobby Lobby, and I'll still do that if I'm in a pinch. Hey, Teresa. But I get these because they're like, you know, the Walmart brand. They're Blick brand. Apparently, Blick is like a store chain somewhere in the United States. They don't have one around here, but you know, they have their own store brand. And to me, the quality is just as high as any of the others that I paid a buku money for. And you know, while they're not 99 cents, they're still, you know, I think I paid $8 for that or something like that, which is not bad, because if you want to thin it up to use it like a craft paint, you can do that too and have this tube forever. But you know, I even thin them down enough to be like watercolors now and then. But when you want them thick and you're wanting a little bit of texture, I mean, we could add texture medium, but we don't have to. That's why I love these so much. They have good colors, a good variety of colors. And I just like the heavy body. Yeah, it feels good. I love how that's turning out. Can y'all see, Angela's? I'm going to move you just a tad.
It's not exactly like I want it.
It's not exactly how she wants it yet, but it's looking good, though. I love that. She has more of the teal showing in hers. Laura, I'm telling you that it was making that transition was just life-changing for me and my painting. I mean, I paint so much more now because it's not, I'm not having to worry about going in there and doing something right. It's, you know, I can worry about that for everything else in the rest of my life, but I'm not going to worry about that on my painting. And the painting that did that for me, and I've probably told y'all this before, was, you know, my husband likes beautiful landscapes. Right now I got a palette knife, but I used a brush when I put, whenever I put the bottle down, and I'll probably fill that bottle up with a brush again. I may use a palette knife, Teresa, but that may be hitting it a little too close to the edge. Or are you telling me you don't have a paintbrush with you? I don't know what you're telling me.
Are they painting it?
I don't think so. But I painted chicken riding a bicycle. I live on a farm. I love my animals, and I love to watch the chickens. And one day my husband and I were talking about being egg peddlers, you know, and we have so much trouble. The health department is just on us all the time here at the store, not wanting us to sell local eggs. but we're in a health food store and where people want local eggs. So, you know, we got to jump through every hoop imaginable to be able to sell eggs. Right now we're not selling them because they're just stressing me out over them. But anyways, I'm like thinking about a chicken peddling eggs, which made me think of bicycle, and I started laughing so hard about that. So I went upstairs and put aside the painting I was painting of Petra. If y'all have never seen Petra, look that up. It's gorgeous. It's someplace my husband and I went in Jordan on vacation one time, and I was painting that, and I've never finished that painting. I move it almost every day from sitting on my table to do something fun. But I painted that chicken on the bicycle, and that was it was the most freeing thing that I ever did. Then I painted a chicken floating through the bayou on a zucchini boat.
Where your thoughts come
Yeah,
from.
wherever I was thinking about zucchini boats there for dinner. And so once I did those things, then I'm like, oh, this was fun. This was fun. Why are we using the palette knife? Teresa, now and then I just like to use the palette knife. I'm trying to do it better. And it's real good about, obviously there's not going to be any brush strokes, but see that texture that it's given where I blended those two colors? It's sort of just haphazard here and there and everywhere of laying the paint on there. That's the look I wanted in the background, and you can get similar to that with a brush, but it's not as much fun as with the palette knife. And I've got a bunch of them in all kinds of different sizes. I think they're you're in that January group where I did that flower painting with the palette knives, and in that supply list are the ones that I use the most often. And that last painting that I did the other day, where it was like in a 20-second video, that painting of flowers on wood, I did that with the palette knives. And that great big roses painting that I did in a speeded up video for my spare bedroom, I did that with palette knives. It's just sometimes there's no way to get the control with this that you have with a paintbrush. So if you're wanting to learn to loosen up even more and to quit trying to make that rose be perfect, there's no way you can do that with this. So this gives you a freeing of your spirit, sort of, in a way that you can just go to it. There's just no way to make it perfect, and that's the perfect part of it. There's no way that you can't enjoy yourself. It's like finger painting, except for your fingers don't get too dirty. And looking back at our inspiration photo, I think I'll go ahead and put some white in the middle for that triangle, and then put in some red, and I will probably do that with a palette knife. I wasn't planning on it. I was going to use a brush, but I'm probably going to go ahead and do it with a palette knife. And you can see from these, I sort of just wipe them off. Even if I soak them in that water, I don't worry about scraping that off all the time. They almost all look like that, but they get a lot of use. This is my newest one. It's huge. See how it's long as my fingers and probably wide as 3 fingers. I love this thing for doing great big stuff. It's just so, I don't know what, just comfy to do. Okay, hoping I don't have a butter knife here to get my white open again. Let's see if I can do it with a pair of scissors. Somebody should have told me I don't have my apron on, although I already have paint on this shirt anyways. I was looking in my closet trying to find something to put on this morning, and I didn't have anything hanging in there that didn't have paint on it.
Tuesday, anything goes.
Yeah. On Tuesday, I'm gonna sit in here and paint if I can help it. It may be in my planner. I am OCD the rest of the time on everything else, but whenever I'm painting, that's my stress reliever. It's like a form of meditation. Get the mind thinking.
Next to the bottle, use a brush.
You could use a brush. What I did was use this one, or you could use this one to where you can just run along it. Or you can use a brush and then go back over it with this to give it a little bit of texture.
Any brush?
Yeah, any brush. Angela's asking, tilt yours this way a second. Angela's asking about see how she's got her background done. Now it's time to get up close to her bottle. And you can then use a brush to do that. Just thin out some of the paint or not. You go on there thick with it. And then go back over it with the palette knife for texture. Or you can use the palette knife, which is what I did here. And you know, use a smaller one because obviously that giant one's going to be hard to control to go straight. Yeah, she has some lines she wants to go over. Do that, and you may end up with a couple of coats before it covers it as good as you want to, or it may look like a shadow. That'll be one of those happy little accidents.
Okay.
Shadows are a good thing. I still can't get this open, y'all. Let me try to stab it with this. Usually I keep a spoon or a butter knife in here, and I don't know what I did with my little box. I keep that in. And here's a tip if you don't want this frustration is you then I got baby wipes right there. You wipe off this outer edge with the baby wipe or a rag before you put this lid back on, and then you don't have to do this. But oh no, I do this every single time. I'm afraid I'm going to stab my finger off. The scissors are too big to get up under there.
It's hard to stop when you're painting.
Yeah, that's too flimsy. Now I've got black paint on my finger. See, I think I set that box over here. When you've got a box here, I usually have a butter knife in every box that has brushes. Let's see if I got one in here. Oh, but I got this. Let's see if this will work. So, and what we were talking about earlier was the Blue Dog. Obviously, Tabasco is a trademarked product, and they make and sell, you know, paintings and pictures and stuff of their product as well. So this is a trademarked product, and most people will know that when we get through with this, I don't own the Tabasco company. You know what I mean? I'm just inspired by my love of the product to want to paint it and have it in my house or whatever. So this is not a famous painting like the Blue Dog, which is what we were talking about. But it is okay to paint the Blue Dog too. But it's not okay to pretend it's an original Blue Dog when you're done. Let's see if this is going to work. This is like one of those openers from Sherwin-Williams, and I've got it jobbed up in there now. So, everybody has to start somewhere learning. You know, a good place to go is Pinterest, and you can have them on your tablet here to look at. You can send them to Walgreens, screenshot it, send it to Walgreens, have it right there to look at, and that's okay. You are not stealing their concept or anything. As long as you're not pretending it's their work and not taking credit for their work, that's okay. That's what art is about, is being inspired by what somebody else does and then making a version of your own. And you know, maybe somebody will be making whatever it is that you come up with. Maybe there's going to be people saying, "Oh no, do you think Terry would mind if we painted a chicken on a bicycle?"
Who else does that?
Who else does that? That's my proprietary design, but I don't care if you paint one. Paint one if you want to. Send me a copy. Make me one and mail it to me. I'll be happy to hang it in my room. Okay. I'm not gonna, if you look at this real close, see it's got that big old triangle. That's what their label looks like. It's white. I actually believe that's green through there, but I'm probably going to use black unless I got some green in there. And then it's got some yellow around the outside. But even if you look at this, it's rough. It's not perfect. We're not wanting it perfect, because the minute you try to go making it perfect, it's going to suck the joy out of your painting. So
Well, I can see I'm not going to be an artist overnight.
I think it looks great. And sorry, y'all, that was another phone call. My fault on that one.
Why is you not getting going?
Yeah. Okay. And I'm just putting the white down sort of like I did the black in the beginning to be bases for, you know, my bottle. I'm doing the same thing with the white. Part of this white's going to have the Tabasco name on it. Part of this white's going to be covered with yellow or green or black or whatever. But I can put this down in white in the beginning to mark off my territory of where I want that label to be. And it's a diamond shape. And on their bottle, it's probably a perfect diamond shape. But on my bottle, it is not. And I just dipped right in my lid to get that. While I have this little bit of white on my paint, I'm going to just sort of go over my label a little bit like that. Just because that'll look better in a minute. While this white is drying some, I'm gonna go ahead and use my brush. I took out way too much black a while ago. I'm gonna go ahead and use my brush and do some red. We have two reds here. This is Algerian Crimson, which looks more like a orangey red, which in reality is sort of what the peppers look like. Oh, this one looks more orangey to me. That's so crazy. This is Cad Red Medium Hue. So, I like the Algerian Crimson better, so I'm going to go back to that one. This black is dry in the middle there already, so I'm just going to squirt some red right in there and leave this white on my brush. Hopefully not get pink. It could happen. But you know what? With them, we paint over it, right? Wet my brush a little and just sort of tapping my paint to kind of thin it out a little. Not a lot because I want it on here real thick. So it'll have that texture. Texture is your friend. Now I'm scared of where to put my arm because I'm going to get paint on it. And remember, always don't be stretching your arm up there trying to figure that out. Move your canvas. Move your canvas. Save yourself some effort. Make life easier on yourself. I'm so excited. I'm excited that Angela came today. I was thinking she wasn't going to come, and then I was thinking, well, I was all prepared with my speech about the blue dog. And then she had this Tabasco idea, and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea.
More basic.
Yeah, let's do our first. That's pretty simple to do. We'll do the blue dog next time, but I had already decided my grandkids just got a new dog. His name is Oscar, and he's old. He's a rescue, and he's a very good boy, and the kids really, really love him, but I think that my youngest granddaughter is allergic, and sad, but I thought, you know what? She may never get to have a dog of her own, and yeah, sad. So I thought I will paint my version of the blue dog for her. And her bedroom is pink and purple. So I wasn't going to have a blue dog. I was probably going to have a purple dog and a pink background, or vice versa. So she could have that little dog to hang in her
Paint him
room.
with some kind of spots, and he's allergic too.
Yes, that's right. She loves Minnie Mouse. I may put Minnie Mouse spots on there, and we'll just call it hives. He's allergic to everybody else in the house. So when I do my blue dog, he will be inspired by Rodriguez blue dog, but he's not going to be blue, and that doesn't make it any less inspired by if it's still the idea there, but it will be my own, and she will love it. I painted her some little birds that have it's some birds, and then they have one of them is a mama bird, and she has a little baby bird hiding under her wing with his head just peeping out. And I told her that's me protecting her, and she talks about it all the time. She just loves it, and that was a couple of years ago, I think. She loves her birds. And that's another thing. See, it's Minnie Mouse is her favorite thing in the world, and I can paint her a Minnie Mouse, but I can't paint a Minnie Mouse to sell because the Disney Corporation owns the rights to everything Minnie Mouse. So that does not mean that I can't paint a Minnie Mouse. That means I can't paint a Minnie Mouse to sell. So that's another part of the copyright infringement thing that would happen if I was trying to make money off of something that they own. What time is it?
12:18.
Eek. 12:18. Lunch is at 12:30.
Yeah. I'm not sure what you're wanting me to do with them brushes, so I'm gonna have to wait.
Did you see the ones I hung in there already?
Yeah.
Is that gonna hold any more? I mean, we could hang them on
Well,
a.
you said something about on a board, and I wasn't
Well,
sure.
I
what
didn't
board.
mean board. I meant that on the other side where those lights are hanging.
Oh, okay.
Or they could just hang on a string back behind that desk, that blue desk that I've got painted in there. There's that wall that separates Sew and Love from the paint department section. They could probably a string hang from one end to the other of that and brushes hang on it. You know what I mean?
Where's the string?
I think it's on my desk.
I'm glad you're on anything goes kind of girl.
I wasn't always. I am inside the most uptight, worried about stuff person. Now it looks like champagne shooting out the top of it. I love it.
Red flames.
I love it. And I have, if you were to see my planner, I have every single thing planned out every day of every month of what I'm supposed to do. Like right now, I'm enjoying myself painting, but I allotted myself from 10:30 to 12:30 to do so, and then I gotta stop. You don't have to stop. I have to stop because I have to move forward to my next set of responsibilities. So even though I'm free right now, it still was a planned outing. But it's like date night with your husband, you know what I mean? I have a date night with a paintbrush. You didn't see any? Look back there in my painting room. I had it. I mean, I had it together because there's 2 or 3 pieces of like brown raffia and then a small roll of twine. I'm actually glad I got to do this. Huh?
To add on to the house for another studio.
Oh yes, definitely.
A playroom.
Yeah. My husband says if I bring one more thing upstairs, the whole upstairs is going to cave in. And he might be right, but
He might be.
he has no idea what all is up there. He has no idea how heavy scrapbook paper is. I guarantee you that he would be having a heart attack because I'm telling you, scrapbook paper is heavy, and I've got a lot of it.
It's possible, but I do have too many. Hard to
Yeah.
be organized with it.
Yeah. I don't want to stick. You know, years and years ago, he's like, just decide on something and stick to it. And I'm like, dude, do you not even know me?
Life is short.
I am never going to
Right.
stick to one thing. That's just not in my realm of doing stuff. So even though I'm doing this with a brush now, I'm still got some of the white in there. That's making it a little bit splotchy. Going back and forth with my brush, getting rid of any straight lines that are in there, and still making the bottle of sauce have some texture. feel bad because I would rather just sit here and finish, especially since I have company today. But I have responsibilities, stuff I got to do on my lunch. And then tonight Shelton's got a ball game in Leesville, and then he says I help him study better than his mama helps him study. So he likes to come over and spend the night on Tuesday when he can, and I help him study for English spelling tests and stuff. He says he makes hundreds when I help him. Candy's not quite as animated as me when it comes to working on...
You're just an animated person.
Working on descriptions of the words.
I would have never figured out the chicken on the bicycle.
If the chicken on a bicycle had never happened, I would really
never
have higher
understand
blood
that
pressure.
I would never understand that picture if you hadn't told me, but I love it.
Yeah, there was a reason behind it. We were peddling eggs, and it just happened. I don't even have any eggs up here right now. They just hound us to death over them. Like, you know, man, in our store, we're not pretending that they're you know, FDA approved pasteurized eggs. That's why my customers want them, because they're straight out the chicken's butt.
You said we weren't going to come.
Yes, I didn't mean to say butt. Also, my OCD my type A is kicking in. I want this to be finished before I leave, and I know I'm not. I'm struggling now. I'm slinging paint. I want the words Tabasco in there, and I want them in there bad.
Oh, shit.
That may or may not happen.
Well, you have just liberated me here.
That's awesome. That is my goal, to live. My whole purpose of this whole Sisterhood of the Traveling Brush channel and everything is to liberate other women to feel as good as I feel. It happens around 50 if you're lucky. So
It does happen.
it's very, very freeing. There, you know, you realize you've only got ever how much time you've got left, more time behind you than in front of you, and by golly, it's time to enjoy yourself, have some fun. Okay, now we got to think about this table here and what we're going to do about that. I can go right there with some black, which I maybe will. I can go over a little bit with some red, which maybe I will. If I don't like that, I can always come back and cover it back up with just the yellow. I'm going to put a little bit of this red on there. Maybe it's some spilled Tabasco sauce.
Don't rub your eyes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, buddy. That's what I was going to tell a story of a while ago. Oh, my goodness. I always like to make stuff homemade if I can. Well, Tabasco peppers, it's a beautiful, gorgeous plant. Hi, how are you?
I'm just the husband looking around being nosy.
Come on in if you want. We're discussing painting.
Oh, I still love painting. There's a little monochromatic oil.
Say the word.
Oh yeah, we're on Facebook Live too. So.
Oh, goodness.
Now you know why your wife comes in.
Yeah.
Exactly. All the fancy people doing fancy things.
Yeah, fancy stuff.
No, we're actually liberating.
Yes, we're letting ourselves be loose with the painting.
Sometimes girls got to do it. Let the hair down. You know, get a little crazy.
That's it. Gotta do it. But one time I tried to make, these are Tabasco bottles. One time I grew a Tabasco plant, so I decided I would make Tabasco sauce at home. So I made the mash. My daddy used to make pepper sauce, stuff like that all the time. I made the mash and did the stuff and fermented it all and put it in with the vinegar afterwards. And I didn't think about it, and I just put my spoons and stuff in the dishwasher afterward to wash them. Whenever the cycle was done and I opened the dishwasher in with the steam, oh my God, I thought I wasn't going to be able to open my eyes for a week. They were burning.
You do like an at-home version of like SWAT, tear gassing like the house, like you did to yourself.
That's what it felt like.
Oh.
That's what it felt like.
Well, shoot, ladies, it looks wonderful. I'll go figure out when my wife's wondering where the heck I'm at.
Well, tell her you were in the fun zone.
Yeah, poke my head around everywhere.
Yeah.
You all have a
Well, thank
wonderful
y'all
day.
for joining us. You have a wonderful day too. We appreciate you. So that was the last Tabasco I ever made. And do you know, Tabasco is all capital letters for one. And they own the rights to the word, even though that's a type of pepper. Is a Tabasco pepper, and gosh, so many of them grow on a stem whenever you get them. I grow it sometimes just in my flower beds because it is a beautiful plant. But they own the rights to the name. They bought the rights to all the seeds and everything, and they own the rights to that name. So when you buy Tabasco, huh?
Who collects the money?
Yeah, I don't know, but it is. It's not. It's all caps too, which is kind of odd. You can always come back to. This is one other thing I was going to say at the end. If you're feeling like, oh, I got some blue over my black line or whatever, just come back in when you're done and go right back over those lines to straighten them up or whatever, and you can do that at the very end. So.
Come on in.
Hey, how are you?
I had to show my wife. I have
Oh,
friends.
welcome. Yes, he made friends in here. Hey there. You having fun?
Get that post-morning nap, you know, that we all wish we
Oh,
could have.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the good life right there.
Yeah. You get big enough, people can't carry you around anymore.
That's the sad day.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for stopping by.
Well, thank you very much for being so awesome.
Oh, this day is getting even better. Now we're awesome.
Who wants to quit then?
Yeah. I'm gonna. Is it time, Candy? Oh
Not
no.
much, anything. A minute or two left.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go down in my triangle here with this black, and then I'm gonna come back with the yellow, and then I'm gonna. If I try to write the word Tabasco in there today when I'm in a hurry, I'm not gonna do a good job. So I'm finding my comfort zone stopping point. The one other thing I wanted to, let me see if I can get this open again now, to say is you will come back with the white, now that my water's all dirty everywhere, come back with this white and highlight here and there as well.
Oh, Miss Palmer on the phone.
Oh, okay, y'all. Well, okay. I have to go now. This phone call I have to take. Y'all have a good day, and thanks for joining us. Bye.